How do you feel about yourself right now? Are you happy with where you are, or do you find yourself frustrated for being the same old person as before? That unproductive, lazy person filled with negative thoughts who, despite your best efforts, still falls back into the same patterns? You might think being stuck in this rut is due to bad luck or a lack of discipline or willpower, whatever you want to call it, but what if I told you that's not really the case? What if the real reason you're feeling stuck has everything to do with what's inside your brain? Our brains are incredibly powerful. They drive around 95% of our thoughts, behaviors, and actions. Now, this might not be obvious at first, but as we'll see in this video, our thoughts create a loop that affects everything, from our emotions to our routines and even our overall personality. And yes, it might sound impossible to change this. After all, how do you change something that's built by nature? Well, that's exactly what we're going to explore. This video will explain how to do just that based on insights from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Dr. Dispenza shares how we can rewire our brains to break free from old patterns and become the best version of ourselves. By the end of this video, you'll have some science-based techniques to help you transform into the person you want to be. Let's begin by first understanding how our brain works. Dr. Dispenza says our brain is like a computer. It stores lots of information, processes it, and acts based on preset programming. Think of your brain as having both hardware and software. The hardware is the physical part of your brain, which has many different components or parts working together. The software consists of your thoughts, feelings, and beliefs that you've learned over time. When we experience or learn something new, it's like installing new software on our brain's hard drive. For example, if you're learning a new language, your brain builds new connections similar to installing a new program on your computer. Every time you practice a new language, like speaking or listening to it, these connections become stronger. Just like using a new software program more often makes it run more smoothly. These connections in your brain are like lines of communication that help different parts of your brain work better together. When these connections are strong, the new skill or knowledge becomes easier and more automatic. So, the more you practice, the easier it becomes to remember and speak words in the new language. But this also explains why it's tough to break old thought patterns. If you've been thinking in a certain way for a long time, it means those connections in your brain are already so strong that you can't remove or escape those thoughts. What's worse, it can make you feel stuck in behaviors you no longer want to engage in. The thing with our brain is that our thoughts don't just remain as thoughts. They create a loop that affects our emotions, which then influence our behaviors and routines. For example, if you aspire to be a speaker but think, "I'm not good enough," this thought can trigger feelings of inadequacy and low self-esteem. And when you have low self-esteem, you might avoid challenges that could help you grow, like participating in speech competitions, joining debate clubs, or even practicing on your own. As a result, you don't improve, which reinforces your belief that you're a failure. Eventually, you become stuck in that cycle. Dr. Dispenza explains that by the time we reach 35 years old, we become a set of memorized behaviors, emotional reactions, unconscious habits, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, and perceptions that operate on autopilot. But just because some thoughts and habits are automatic doesn't mean there's no way to change them. Just like computers, our minds can be reprogrammed through a process known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity refers to our brain's ability to change and reorganize itself by forming new connections. This concept debunks the myth that the brain is fixed and unchangeable after a certain age. As Dr. Dispenza puts it, you are not doomed by your genes and hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of your life. A new science is emerging that empowers all human beings to create the reality they choose. As we've discussed earlier, every time we learn or experience something, it creates new connections in our brains that are strengthened through effective practice and repetition. Meanwhile, old, unused connections weaken and eventually disappear. If we want to develop positive thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and habits, we need to start incorporating effective practices to install these new programs in our brains and gradually strengthen them. This all begins with awareness. When we are aware of our current patterns, we can take active steps to reprogram our minds and create the changes we desire. One effective way to enhance this awareness, as Dispenza suggests, is through meditation. By meditating, we not only relax, but also gain clearer insights into our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. This clarity is essential for letting go of any negative patterns that might be holding us back. When you begin meditating, it's important to start each session by creating a state of calm. This can be done through focused breathing or a progressive relaxation technique where you attentively move your awareness from your head down to your feet tuning into the sensations of each part of your body. Practice this diligently until you achieve a relaxed state. Once you're in this state, it's time to confront and fully experience the emotions that define your current self, especially those you wish to change. Let yourself fully feel these emotions without any judgment or suppression. Think about their impact on your thoughts and behaviors. What specific feelings do you want to change, and how do they influence your daily life? If you're feeling a sense of inadequacy, for example, trace how these emotions affect your interactions at home and at work. After you've recognized these emotions, the next step is to express them out loud. This could be a declaration to the universe, a higher power, or just a statement to yourself. This act is very important as it helps reduce the power these emotions and habits have over you. Think about which emotions you're ready to release and notice how it feels to articulate them. Some sample phrases you could say are, I release my fear of failure, and I let go of my resentment and embrace forgiveness. More likely, you'll feel more at peace releasing the verbal baggage that might have been weighing you down for a long time. As you grow more attuned to these emotional patterns, begin to observe the behaviors they trigger. Keep a list of these behaviors handy so you can identify them in real-life situations. Whenever you find yourself engaging in these behaviors, firmly say, change, aloud. Dispenza says this interruption can help you rewire your response to familiar triggers. Finally, imagine the traits and habits of your ideal self, how you want to think, act, and feel. Make a conscious effort to practice these new behaviors regularly, reinforcing them until they become a natural part of you. This daily practice helps develop the connections in your brain that embody your new self. By consistently focusing on the person you want to become, you'll gradually transform not just your mind, but your entire reality. Remember that the journey to changing your reality for the better is an ongoing process. As we've learned, it requires rewiring our brains to break free from the old patterns that hold us back. It might seem challenging at first, but it's definitely achievable through the power of neuroplasticity. This science shows us that we can create new, positive neural connections that lead to significant changes in our lives. By incorporating practices like meditation, visualization, and positive affirmations, we can start to reshape our thought patterns and emotional responses. When we meditate, we gain clarity on our current state and eventually learn to let go of the negative thoughts. Visualization, on the other hand, allows us to see our ideal selves clearly. This sets a mental blueprint of who we want to become. Positive affirmations support these visualizations. They help embed these new patterns deep within our subconscious. With consistent and mindful effort in practicing these techniques, you can now strengthen the new connections in your brain. You'd be surprised at how these efforts will transform your life. It is only you who hold that power.